Hollywood has never been short of romantic love stories, but Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck's relationship was once regarded as something truly special. A story that made people believe genuine love could still survive amid the relentless machinery of fame. For 10 years, they embodied the ideal family, a peaceful refuge in the heart of scandal-filled Los Angeles. Then in the summer of 2015, a brief public announcement brought everything crashing down. Their divorce quickly became one of the entertainment industry's biggest media spectacles, surrounded by endless speculation from the darker aspects of Ben's personal struggles to rumors involving other people. While the public storm intensified and those around her continued speaking out or moving on with new relationships, Jennifer Garner chose only one weapon: complete silence. She stepped back, protected her children, and refused to turn her personal heartbreak into public entertainment. But every silence has its limits, not as an act of revenge, but as part of the healing process. After nearly a decade of carrying the public image of the long-suffering wife, Jennifer Garner eventually opened her heart and revealed some of the hidden truths behind the collapse of that marriage. Long before the deep fractures turned their marriage into one of the most heartbreaking and widely reported celebrity breakups in entertainment history, Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck had written what many considered an extraordinary love story. At the time, the public genuinely believed their relationship possessed a rare kind of resilience, strong enough to withstand the harsh realities and relentless pressures of Hollywood. Their romance did not begin beneath flashing cameras, nor was it another fleeting Hollywood affair. Instead, it quietly took root through a close friendship while filming Pearl Harbor 2001, before blossoming into something much deeper when they reunited for Daredevil 2003. In the early 2000s, Ben Affleck found himself at the center of an unhealthy celebrity culture. His highly publicized relationship with Jennifer Lopez, the original Bennifer, had been scrutinized so relentlessly that it reduced his career to tabloid headlines and transformed his private life into an unwanted reality show. Ben emerged from that period emotionally exhausted, directionless, questioning his own worth and carrying deep emotional scars. It was at that moment that Jennifer Garner entered his life like fate itself, a source of calm warmth and healing. With her radiant, dimpled smile, sharp intelligence, and the effortless authenticity that earned her the reputation of America's sweetheart, Jennifer introduced Ben to an entirely different world. One without publicity, stunts, or extravagant parties, built instead upon sincerity and understanding. Years later, Ben Affleck continued to speak about that period with immense gratitude, openly acknowledging that Jennifer's strength, warmth, and unconditional love had pulled him out of the darkness created by fame and given his life a renewed sense of purpose. In June 2005, they chose to redefine their lives together through an intimate and remarkably simple wedding ceremony on the beaches of Turks and Caicos. There were no swarms of paparazzi, no extravagant haute couture gowns, and no celebrity guest list assembled for appearances. Jennifer Garner, pregnant with their first child at the time, wore a simple white wedding dress, with her hair naturally flowing as she stood beside the ocean and exchanged vows with Ben before only 2 witnesses. In that moment, they were no longer Hollywood A-list celebrities. They were simply 2 people longing for a home, finding each other amid life's storms and hoping to grow old together. Over the following decade, Ben and Jen became a symbol of enduring love in Hollywood. Amid the temptations and artificial glamour of Los Angeles, the Affleck-Garner family appeared to represent a rare oasis of normality. The public became accustomed to seeing wonderfully ordinary moments of their lives. Jennifer dressed in old jeans and an oversized t-shirt, taking the children to the local farmer's market on weekend mornings. Ben Affleck, rugged and bearded, gently placing an arm around his wife while walking through busy streets. Or the 2 of them patiently queuing for ice cream while laughing together as their children played happily on the grass. They welcomed 3 children into the world: Violet, Seraphina, and Samuel. Each child seemed to complete another beautiful piece of their family, making their happiness appear stronger, more complete, and seemingly untouchable. To protect and nurture that precious family life, Jennifer Garner made an extraordinary sacrifice, one that very few actresses at the height of their careers would have been willing to make. Having become one of Hollywood's leading action stars following the tremendous success of Alias and a series of major films, Jennifer willingly stepped away from the spotlight. She gave up fame, turned down multi-million-dollar projects, declined offers from acclaimed directors, and devoted herself wholeheartedly to being a mother, a wife, and the quiet foundation supporting her husband. She carefully set aside her own ambitions in exchange for warm family dinners and the opportunity for Ben to pursue his dreams without distraction. That profound sacrifice ultimately coincided with one of the greatest professional comebacks of Ben Affleck's career. Once regarded as an actor whose best years were behind him, Ben reinvented himself as a director and achieved remarkable success by winning the Academy Award for Argo 2012. Standing on the stage of the Dolby Theater beneath dazzling lights, before billions of viewers around the world, Ben Affleck held the coveted Oscar statuette in his hands, fighting back tears as he thanked his wife. He described their marriage as hard work, but the best kind of work, calling it the source that nourished and sustained his soul. Sitting in the audience that evening, Jennifer Garner watched with tears shimmering in her eyes, tears of overwhelming joy and immense pride. She had loved Ben with complete devotion, a love in which she placed his happiness and his career above her own. To her, Ben was not simply her husband. He was the love of her life, the man for whom she had invested her youth, her strength, and the deepest pride of her heart in building and protecting the life they shared. The profound affection, unwavering bond, and seemingly inseparable connection that defined their fairy tale decade are precisely why its collapse became so devastating. The stronger the foundation and the greater the love, the deeper the wound left behind when everything falls apart. When a castle collapses, outsiders usually notice only the final moment, when the last bricks crash to the ground. But for Jennifer Garner, the cracks had begun forming silently years earlier, spreading through the walls of a home the world continued to celebrate as a perfect family. Behind the carefully crafted image, illuminated by camera flashes, their marriage had long been carrying the crushing weight of Hollywood's relentless media culture, while invisible fractures quietly grew from within. Living under the constant microscope of the media meant that privacy became an impossible luxury. Every tired expression, every loose handhold, or every moment they walked slightly out of step after leaving a restaurant was scrutinized, analyzed, and turned into sensational headlines. Jennifer later explained that constantly feeling responsible for maintaining the image of the perfect family had become an enormous emotional burden, a heavy mask she was expected to wear every single day. Whenever they stepped outside their front door, they were no longer simply husband and wife. They became 2 A-list actors expected to perform in an endless reality show called The Perfect Marriage. That relentless scrutiny slowly stripped away the natural breathing space every relationship needs, turning private moments into carefully guarded performances. Yet the pressure from public opinion and the photographers waiting outside their home was, in the end, only an external factor. The deepest pain came from an invisible distance that continued to widen between 2 people who had once shared everything. Jennifer eventually revealed a heartbreaking truth she had kept hidden for years. Their marriage had already been deeply damaged and emotionally exhausted long before the public controversies dominated the headlines. It was not a sudden collapse triggered by one explosive argument, but a slow and painful erosion that gradually wore down both of them. Their lifestyles and priorities drifted further apart. Conversations became increasingly rare, before eventually giving way to unsettling silence, and Jennifer found herself experiencing profound loneliness inside the very home she had built, with the man she had once loved more than anything. There were nights when she looked at Ben sleeping peacefully or retreating into his own private struggles, and realized the emotional distance between them had become greater than any physical distance could ever be. Jennifer explained that the reason she chose complete silence throughout those difficult years, even as painful rumors circulated and many people portrayed her as the betrayed wife, was never because she lacked courage or wished to conceal the truth. That silence came from the deepest instinct of a mother. She did not want her 3 children, Violet, Serafina, and Samuel, to turn on the television scroll through social media or hear conversations at school and see their mother publicly defending herself, assigning blame, or turning their father into a public villain. Instead, she chose to carry that burden herself, absorbing the harsh public attention while transforming her private pain into calm composure, in order to protect her children's childhood from being overshadowed by the consequences of celebrity. She understood that in the battle against sensational media coverage, speaking publicly can sometimes deepen personal wounds while unintentionally drawing loved ones into the same cycle of pain. The hidden truth of that chapter was that Jennifer had to accept an incredibly painful reality. The man she had once considered her soulmate, the man for whom she had willingly placed much of her own career on hold to support his dreams, was gradually slipping beyond her reach. Every attempt to bring him back, every effort to suppress her own emotions, and every tear she silently held back in order to preserve the image of their family, eventually left her emotionally and physically exhausted. She came to realize that she had been trying to repair a crystal vase that had already shattered into countless pieces, only to find that the broken fragments were the very things leaving wounds in her own hands. If the invisible cracks were the corrosive force slowly wearing away their marriage from within, then Ben Affleck's battle with his inner demons was the storm that swept away the final bricks holding their family together. In reflections shared only after years of silence, Jennifer Garner finally addressed one of the most painful and sensitive truths: her former husband's severe struggle with alcohol addiction. This was never simply a story about a bad habit. It was the story of a destructive psychological illness, a dark force she spent years trying unsuccessfully to fight alongside him. Jennifer revealed a painful reality that few people truly understood: the trap of becoming the rescuer. For a long time, she unknowingly exchanged one role for another. Instead of being a wife who shared life, love, and mutual support, she realized she had become a second parent, an exhausted caretaker for a grown man struggling with his own personal battles. Her instinct was always to protect him, to clean up the aftermath whenever he lost control, to hide the bottles, comfort the children, and shield her husband's reputation from public scrutiny. She believed that if she could simply be a little more patient, a little more forgiving, and love him a little more deeply, she might be able to pull him out of the darkness. But that belief ultimately came at the cost of her own peace of mind. Jennifer admitted that living alongside someone battling addiction felt like walking through a minefield disguised as a peaceful meadow. You never knew when an innocent comment might trigger an angry reaction, or when a quiet evening would suddenly be overshadowed by the unmistakable smell of alcohol. The constant emotional strain gradually drained every ounce of her energy, transforming her from a vibrant, joyful woman into someone living in a permanent state of anxiety and emotional exhaustion. Jennifer's most painful yet life-changing realization came when she finally understood the difference between love and endurance. She accepted a difficult truth. No matter how deep love may be, it cannot heal someone who is unwilling to save themselves. By constantly stepping in to shield Ben from the consequences of his actions, she realized she was not helping him recover at all. Instead, she was unintentionally allowing him to avoid facing his own responsibility. For Jennifer, the decision to let the marriage come to an end was never an act of selfishness or a sign that she no longer cared. It became the final act of self-preservation for herself and for their children. She understood that she had to step away before she too was consumed by the same darkness so that her children could continue to have a mother who was emotionally and physically present. Her honesty was never intended to criticize or diminish Ben Affleck, whom she continues to describe as a wonderful father to their children, but rather to express a painful truth about the limits of love. You cannot rescue someone who is unwilling to leave the darkness if you do not wish to be pulled into it yourself. When news of the divorce became public, Hollywood's media machine immediately turned the story into headline material, producing one sensational narrative after another. At the center of the media storm was what became known as the nanny scandal, rumors that Ben Affleck had become involved with the family's young nanny. Newspapers and entertainment outlets quickly painted what appeared to be the perfect dramatic storyline: a devoted wife betrayed inside her own home. Jennifer Garner was widely portrayed as the heartbroken victim, and the public responded with sympathy. Yet, after years of remaining silent and allowing the headlines to fade, Jennifer eventually addressed those rumors directly and clarified the facts. She pointed to one crucial detail that had largely been overlooked. "We had been separated for months before I ever heard about the nanny. She had nothing to do with our decision to divorce. She was not part of that equation." Jennifer's statement was never intended to excuse her former husband. Instead, it was her way of reclaiming the truth and taking ownership of her own story. She was not the passive victim many people imagined. The decision to end their 10-year marriage was a thoughtful one, reached by both of them after a long period of trying unsuccessfully to repair their relationship, rather than a sudden reaction to one alleged incident. Jennifer also spoke openly about the emotional toll of watching her private life and genuine pain become public entertainment. Waking up each morning to see photographs of herself, her former husband, and even their children, accompanied by judgmental headlines, became an emotional burden unlike any other. She revealed that in order to survive that difficult chapter, she imposed one strict rule on herself: never search her own name online and never read articles about the divorce. "If you live by the praise of the media, you'll die by their criticism," Jennifer concluded. Refusing to participate in the media spectacle, declining to defend herself publicly or embrace the role of a helpless victim, became her way of preserving her dignity and protecting herself from being consumed by the relentless cycle of public opinion. As the media frenzy gradually subsided, many people began viewing Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner with renewed admiration. They were widely praised as one of Hollywood's strongest examples of respectful co-parenting after divorce. They were frequently seen taking their children to church together on Sundays, spending holidays as a family, and Ben even chose to live nearby so he could remain closely involved in raising their children. The phrase co-parenting soon became closely associated with them as a positive example of maturity, mutual respect, and compassion after the end of a marriage. Yet after years of carrying the image of the perfect divorced couple, Jennifer eventually revealed the difficult reality hidden behind that public perception. She admitted that no divorce is ever truly easy, and that the dignity and respect people admired did not come naturally. It was achieved through extraordinary emotional restraint, quiet resilience, and countless tears shed in private, far away from public view. Jennifer revealed a difficult truth: having to see the man who had hurt her on a regular basis and having to discuss their children's future together while her emotional wounds were still healing, was an incredibly demanding challenge for any woman. There were family outings that the media praised as heartwarming, yet in reality, once the children had fallen asleep, Jennifer would quietly retreat to the bathroom, turn on the tap at full volume, and allow herself to cry in private. She had to set aside her pride, suppress her own emotions, and put her personal pain aside for one purpose alone: to give her children the happiest and most stable childhood possible, so they would always know that although their parents were no longer together, their love for them would never change. That challenge became even more complicated when Ben Affleck's personal life entered a new chapter, particularly with Jennifer Lopez returning to his life and their highly publicized wedding in 2022. When Ben remarried, the media once again turned its attention to Jennifer Garner, waiting for signs of resentment or jealousy. Yet, with remarkable maturity and emotional balance, Garner remained focused on preserving stability for her family despite the renewed media attention. She revealed that she held no bitterness or resentment. Instead, she chose to maintain a respectful distance while supporting Ben in fostering a positive relationship between their children and Jennifer Lopez's children. The truth behind that generosity was not that Jennifer no longer felt pain, but that she had come to understand something far more important. Holding on to resentment only poisons your own present, and one of the greatest gifts she could give her children was allowing their father to find peace. To rise from the ashes of a broken marriage, a woman needs far more than time. She must undergo a profound transformation within herself. For Jennifer Garner, life after divorce was never simply about signing legal documents. It became a painful journey of dismantling and rebuilding her own identity. After spending years known primarily as Ben Affleck's wife, putting aside much of her own identity to support her family, she had to learn once again how to stand on her own feet and redefine her self-worth without measuring it against anyone else. Jennifer Garner's greatest transformation came when she chose to step out of the shadow she had lived in for so long and reclaim the career she had once placed on hold. She returned to acting not casually but with complete focus and renewed creative energy. Audiences witnessed a remarkably versatile Jennifer Garner, from portraying a determined mother seeking justice in the action film Peppermint to delivering warm, uplifting performances in family productions such as Yes Day. Every appearance now reflected not the exhaustion and anxiety of earlier years, but the confidence and radiance of a woman who had fully reclaimed control of her own life. Her renewal did not end with acting. Jennifer also channeled her nurturing spirit into entrepreneurship by co-founding Once Upon a Farm, an organic children's food company dedicated to providing healthy, wholesome nutrition for young families. The business became much more than a commercial venture. It became a place where Jennifer found genuine purpose, allowing her to contribute to society, while connecting with people through the kindness and sincerity that have always defined her. Seeing Jennifer working on farms, smiling among fresh produce, many people recognized that she had finally found the inner peace she had long been searching for. Yet, perhaps the greatest truth and the most valuable lesson Jennifer Garner shared after nearly a decade of silence was her understanding of forgiveness. She openly admitted that the hardest part of life after divorce was not forgiving Ben Affleck for the mistakes or pain he had caused. The greatest challenge was learning to forgive herself. She confessed that she had spent years blaming herself for not being able to save the man she loved, and for feeling that she had somehow failed because she could not preserve the traditional family life she had hoped to give her children. Only after she released that burden of guilt, accepted that she had given everything she possibly could, and recognized that heartbreak is sometimes an unavoidable part of life, did she finally find true freedom. That freedom did not come because someone else forgave her. It came because she finally forgave herself. She was no longer the heartbroken ex-wife, portrayed by Hollywood headlines. She had become a resilient survivor, a woman who had built an entirely new chapter of her life, with dignity, independence, and hope. The hidden truth behind Jennifer Garner's divorce turned out not to be some dark secret, but rather an honest reflection of love, responsibility, and the limits of what one person can carry. The Jennifer Garner of today is no longer the long-suffering wife standing quietly behind her former husband's success, nor the helpless victim portrayed by the media. She is simply herself, peaceful, confident, and radiant, after years spent learning to forgive both the past and herself. Her story stands as a powerful reminder that silence is not weakness, and that having the courage to let go after giving your whole heart may be one of the greatest strengths a woman can possess. What do you think about Jennifer Garner's remarkable journey of rebuilding her life? Do you believe that learning to forgive yourself is the key to finding happiness after heartbreak? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective.